There's a rule. A simple rule. That if you followed it, would change your financial life completely. The wealthy know it. They use it. They protect their fortunes with it. But they never talk about it publicly. Because if everyone knew this rule, entire industries would collapse. Billions in revenue would vanish. The economy as you know it would transform. So they keep it quiet. They use it themselves. And they hope you never figure it out. But I'm going to tell you. Right now. The rule that separates people who build wealth from people who stay broke. The 72-hour rule. Wait 72 hours before any non-essential purchase. That's it. That's the rule. Sounds simple. Almost stupid. But it's devastatingly effective. And here's why. Your brain lies to you. Constantly. Especially about money. Especially about things you want to buy. It creates urgency that isn't real. Need that isn't genuine. Desire that's manufactured by marketing, not actual requirement. And it does this in the moment. In the heat of wanting. In the emotional spike of seeing something you think you need. But emotions fade. Urgency dissolves. Manufactured desire evaporates. Usually within 72 hours. That's why the rule works. It creates distance between impulse and action. Between wanting and buying. Between emotion and decision. Let me show you what happens when you apply this rule. You see something. A gadget. A piece of clothing. A new device. Something that in this moment feels absolutely necessary. Your brain floods with justifications. I deserve this. I've worked hard. I'll use it all the time. It's on sale. It's a good investment. None of this is rational. It's all emotional. But you can't see that in the moment. Because you're inside the emotion. So instead of buying, you wait. 72 hours. 3 days. You write it down. You note what you wanted. You wait. Day 1. You still want it. The desire is strong. You think about it. You justify it. You almost break the rule. But you don't. You wait. You sit with the wanting. You let it exist without acting on it. Day 2. The urgency starts fading. You think about it less. Other things occupy your mind. The need feels less intense. But it's still there. Still present. Still pulling at you. You're not sure if you should buy it or not. Day 3. 72 hours pass. And now you look at it differently. Without the emotional charge. Without the urgency. Without the manipulation. And here's what happens. 80% of the time, you don't buy it. You realize you don't actually need it. The desire was artificial. Temporary. Manufactured by marketing or impulse or boredom. Not genuine need. That purchase you were about to make? That money stays in your account. Available for investment. For actual needs. For building wealth. One purchase saved. No big deal. But you're not making one impulse purchase. You're making dozens. Hundreds over a year. Every streaming service you didn't need. Every upgrade you didn't require. Every gadget you wouldn't use. Every piece of clothing already in your closet. Add it up. The 72-hour rule saves people thousands per year. Sometimes tens of thousands. Money that would have vanished into things they forgot about. But here's where it gets deeper. The rule doesn't just save money. It rewires your brain. Because every time you wait, every time you delay gratification, you're building a new neural pathway. A new pattern. You're training yourself to distinguish between want and need. Between impulse and intention. Between marketing and reality. You become immune to urgency tactics. Resistant to scarcity manipulation. Unaffected by limited time offers. Retailers hate this rule. Marketers fear this rule. The entire consumer economy is built on impulse purchases. On people buying things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't like. The 72-hour rule breaks that cycle. It interrupts the pattern. It gives you back control. But there's a darker side to this. A side they really don't want you to know. The 72-hour rule reveals how much of your spending is emotional management, not actual need. You buy when you're sad. When you're stressed. When you're bored. When you're anxious. Shopping becomes therapy. Corporations know this. They engineer it. They create emotional triggers. They sell solutions to problems they created. You feel inadequate. They sell you improvement. You feel behind. They sell you catching up. You feel empty. They sell you fulfillment. None of it works. The feeling returns. So you buy again and again, an endless cycle that never actually solves anything. The rule forces you to sit with the feeling instead of medicating it with purchasing, which is deeply uncomfortable. You've been using spending to avoid feeling for years, but on the other side of the discomfort is clarity and real emotional regulation. Now let me tell you how the wealthy use this rule differently. They use it for everything. They apply it to consumer purchases, investment opportunities, business decisions, partnerships, expansions. Someone pitches them and creates urgency, saying the deal won't last and the opportunity is closing. They don't act. They wait at least 72 hours, sometimes longer, letting the emotional pressure fade. Then they evaluate coldly, rationally, without hype or artificial deadlines shaping the decision. Good opportunities do not evaporate in 3 days. Real value doesn't disappear because someone took time to think. If someone is pushing urgency, they're usually hiding something or selling something that doesn't hold up under scrutiny. The 72-hour rule protects the wealthy from impulse investments and rushed decisions. While most people are being pressured into purchases, the wealthy take time to think, and that time changes everything. But here's what turns this from a saving tactic into a wealth-building strategy. Take the money you didn't spend. The purchase you delayed and realized you didn't need. Don't leave it sitting. Invest it immediately, the same day you decide not to buy. Move it into assets that grow. If you leave it available, you'll spend it on something else. The money will leak away in a different direction. But if you invest it the moment you save it, you're not just avoiding bad purchases. You're building wealth actively and automatically. The gadget you didn't buy for $200 becomes $220 next year once invested. The following year, it becomes $242, and so on as compound growth accelerates. Over a decade or two, the impulse purchases you avoided become tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands. The 72-hour rule isn't about deprivation or living like a monk. It's about intentionality and making purchases deliberately, not emotionally. Buy what you need. Buy what you truly want. But make sure the wanting is real and not manufactured. Make sure it isn't temporary or manipulated by urgency tactics, marketing, or emotional discomfort. 3 days are enough to know the difference between impulse and intention. Most people won't do this. Most people can't do this. Waiting feels like sacrifice. Waiting feels like missing out, and that feeling is exactly what corporations train you to fear. They teach you to feel urgency, to avoid waiting, to believe hesitation is loss. But the wealthy master waiting. They master patience. They master delayed gratification. Not because they're morally better, but because they understand the financial consequences of impatience. Immediate gratification is expensive. Delayed gratification builds wealth. It compounds, multiplies, and becomes the foundation of lasting financial power. So here's your challenge: the next time you want to buy something non-essential, wait. Write it down. Note the date. Note what you wanted. Then wait 72 hours. If after 3 days you still want it, buy it without guilt. You made a conscious decision. But most of the time, the desire will disappear, the spell will break, and clarity will return. You'll see how much of your spending was never yours to begin with. It was programming. It was conditioning. It was your brain reacting to triggers you didn't know were controlling you. The 72-hour rule gives you back your power. Your choice. Your money. The question is simple: are you strong enough to wait?